Hey guys, Theoden here. I'm going to be going over the priest changes. I'm going to be focusing primarily on Disc and Holy. I'm not super familiar with all of the shadow changes just yet, so I'm going to hold off on those for the time being. As far as healing goes on the priest, it's going to be pretty similar to what you're used to. The biggest changes is just going to be the fact that some of the abilities are kind of disc only and some of the abilities are holy only now. Although there's really not that many that are that are really different than usual. But first off, I guess I'll just kind of go over some of the new abilities. For discipline, there's this spirit shell cooldown. It's a 1 minute cooldown that kind of converts all of your heals into bubbles instead of having to cast Power Word Shield. As far as the utility of that, I think that'll be yet to be seen. But it will be nice to, I guess, prevent a little bit of overhealing. Power Word Barrier, still a super strong cooldown, but they did nerf it a little bit. It's down to 25% healing reduction or damage reduction instead of 30%. Penance is pretty much the same. Divine Aegis, Power Word Shield are pretty much the same. Bubble is pretty expensive though, but you do still have Rapture, so as long as you're casting it on the tanks, you should be pretty good. Alright, as far as Holy goes, Circle of Healing is still the same, Flash Heal is still the same, Divine Hymn, Lightwell. Okay, Chakra Sanctuary. This has been like super buffed. Holy Word Sanctuary now lasts for 30 seconds when you cast it. It says it's on a 40-second cooldown, but Blizz said that that's actually a bug. It's supposed to be on a 30-second cooldown, so you should be able to chain cast those and just leave them on the ground. They'll, pretty much just keep going forever. All right, as far as your talents go, each tree or each row basically has its own role. Your first row is going to be all of your CC talents. You have Void Tendrils, Psi-Fiend, Dominate Mind. Dominate Mind is basically your mind control. Psi-Fiend is, I don't know, I like to think of it as a shaman totem that just AoE fears anything that comes near it. Void Tendrils is a big AoE root that's going to grab anything nearby. On your next section, it's going to be your movement speed kind of cooldowns. And this is actually a pretty cool tier because now you can pick Body and Soul regardless of whether or not you're Holy or Disc, which increases movement speed of anybody you bubble or Leap of Faith. Angelic Feather, this is totally new, and I had a chance to play with it. It's pretty cool. You get to put this little feather on the ground. You can put up to 3 of them down, and when anybody runs through it, it increases their movement speed by 60% for 4 seconds. So that's really fun, and I'll try to show a little demo of that in a little bit. Phantasm, this is more of a PvP sort of talent. When you fade, it gets rid of all your movement and parrying effects and makes you untargetable for 3 seconds. On the next tier, you have From Darkness Comes Light. This gives you a 15% chance on your Smite Heal, Flash Heal, Binding Heal, and Greater Heal to cause your next Flash Heal to be instant, have no mana cost, and you can have up to 2 charges of that, so I guess that means it can stack twice. You also have Mindbender. This is really cool. It basically buffs up your Shadow Fiend. Typically, Shadow Fiend is on a 3-minute cooldown. Mindbender is on a 1-minute cooldown. So one thing that's kind of interesting about it is each individual hit that Mindbender does gives you a little bit less mana than each individual hit that a Shadow Fiend gives you. But since it's only on a 1-minute cooldown, you can use it 3 times as much. When I was playing with it, now this was out of combat, so I had a little bit higher mana regen, but when I was playing with it, Shadow Fiend gave me about 50% of my total mana back throughout its duration, and Mindbender gave me about 30% back. So Mindbender does give you less, but if you can use it every single minute, that's going to add up to about a 90% total mana regen as opposed to a 50%. Power Word Solace, this is kind of like the Lightning Bolt for Resto Shaman. You can use it to DPS the boss and get a little bit of mana back. It's only 0.7% of max mana, so it's not a ton, but it'll allow you to DPS without worrying about using any mana because it has no mana cost. Your self heals are on the next row. You have Desperate Prayer, that's pretty much the same. Spectral Guise isn't really a heal, but it allows you to kind of stealth and not get targeted. Again, kind of a PvP talent. Angelic Bulwark basically gives you an extra bubble if you get taken below 30% health. Personally, I think Desperate Prayer is still going to be the strongest of the three. The next tier, you've got Twist of Fate. If you heal somebody that's very low health, you're going to get a healing boost for the next 10 seconds. Power Infusion is the same as it is on live. And then Divine Insight. When you do penance, there's a 40% chance that your next bubble will ignore and will not cause weakened soul if you're in disc. But if you're in holy, then your greater heal or prayer of healing has a chance to make your prayer of mending not trigger its cooldown, and it'll jump around instantly. So that would be pretty cool as well. For your level 90 talents, obviously I can't get to these yet, but you have Cascade, Divine Star, and Halo. They're all pretty cool talents, although Cascade and Halo look like the most interesting to me. Cascade is sort of like a prayer mending in that you can shoot it at somebody, and then it's going to heal them, and it's going to split, and it's going to bounce to somebody else, and then when it gets to them, it'll split and bounce to somebody else, and so it'll do a lot of AoE healing all over the place really fast. You can also use it on ads. If you were like on Deathwing or something and you wanted to, help kill the ads, you could shoot it at one. It would split and bounce to everything really quickly. Divine Star, this one, I think this is going to have to come down to how it actually works out in practice. But basically, you shoot a Divine Star in front of you. It does healing and damage to anything that it's, in its way, and then it comes back. So it's kind of a healing DPS boomerang sort of deal. Halo, this is pretty cool. It shoots a big ring of, I guess, holy energy around you that does healing and damage to anything within 25 yards, and it actually is the strongest at the furthest distance away from you. So those are pretty cool. I'm looking forward to seeing how those actually end up working on live. Alright, as far as your glyphs go, Priest got some pretty cool glyphs. There's some that are just kind of okay, but I'm just going to kind of go over the ones that I think are going to be really, really nice. Specifically, let's see here, where is it? Lightspring. This is amazing. Lightspring makes it so that people don't actually have to click on your light well anymore. If they go below half health, it just picks them and shoots them a light well. So it acts as if they clicked on it. So that's amazing. People are not going to have to click on it, and you're still going to get a pretty big healing boost from Lightwell, because that's very, very nice. Reflective Shield, if you're bubbling the tank, 45% of the damage absorbed through your shield goes back at the boss. So if you're on those fights that have like a really, really tight, DPS kind of timer or something like that, that could be really helpful. Let's see here. Power Word Shield, 20% of your bubble is insta-heal. Glyph of Penance, this is going to be an interesting one because you may or may not take it, just depending on the fight if there's a lot of movement. What it does is it increases the mana cost of your penance by 20%, but you can cast it while you're running around. So I could see that going either way. Levitate just gives you a flat 15% movement speed while you're levitated. That'll be really nice. And I think that's right, it so of like the really cool and some kind of changes that you're going to see in the spellbook. If you are disc, you no longer have to spec into Atonement healing. Atonement is now a passive disc ability, and it's pretty darn strong. I'm not sure how it's going to translate once you're at level 90 or live, but I was playing on the dummies with it, and I'm in the pre-made Firelands gear, no gems, no enchants or anything, and I was doing about 16 to 18k healing with it, and that's without any buffs or anything. So I think that'll be really, really strong on those tight DPS fights, and you don't have to spec into it. You can just switch over to do it if you've got extra time. And the mana cost of the abilities when you have your buff stacked up is pretty low, so that's not going to be a big deal. Okay, another change is the change to sort of your cleanse ability, which is now called Purify. It removes all magic and diseases on your target immediately, so you don't have to chain cast it. However, it now has an 8-second cooldown, so you're not going to be able to just spam it over and over and over. So honestly, I think it could work either way. I hop down here so that I can kind of demonstrate the Angelic Feather ability. So let me go ahead and get one up. You see I'll put it on the ground here, and it puts this feather out. And I can stick one over there, and I can stick one over there. Now let me go ahead and get rid of my levitate. Now if I run through it, I get this sprint. I start moving really, really fast. And then if it runs out, I can just run over, hit another feather, get the sprint again. So you can kind of plan these out. If you're going to have like a specific area where you're going to have to run really fast for a while, you can chain them and you know, kind of get a little self sprint going. Kind of like that. And they recharge pretty quickly. You can place a new one, I think, once every 10 seconds. And you can have up to 3 kind of ready and waiting. Anyway, I think that's about it of the major changes. I'm sure there's a lot of little things that I forgot to talk about, but if you have any questions, just leave me a comment, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks a lot.